Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another Gaming University reaction. And after a little while, I'm finally back to do another Psychology of Psychonauts reaction, and this one is about Lungfishopolis. Oh god, I remember thinking back to Lungfishopolis when I played Psychonauts 1. Unironically, I think it was one of my most favorite levels of the game, just for the simple fact of the gimmick of it made it so memorable, and the fact that you were where you were like a kaiju smashing through the city of these little sentient lungfish, which I mean was just absolutely great. And then there's the whole thing, going on about the fact that Lungfishopolis was purely synthetic, like the whole thing with what was the lungfish's name? I completely forget. They basically had their mind rewritten to be the servant of Coach Oleander, and as a result, it's like the whole giant the kaiju fighting and stuff like that. Just it was beautiful, man. I don't know what symbolism they're going to really talk about in the video. But again, I am honestly very intrigued, given that, this is the only time in the games that we've ever gone into somebody's head who wasn't human. So I'm just wondering, what kind of psychology is he going to be able to pull out or talk about because of this? So, yeah. Of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Since the beginning of Psychonauts, stories of a giant lake monster were told around the camp. Bobby frightened Dogen with his campfire tale. Mikhail searched for this hairless bear to wrestle, and according to Elton, the fish in the lake were frightened of something giant. While these come off as scary stories told at every camp, once the counselors go missing, Rasputin comes face to face with this hulking lungfish. The creature abducts Lily and takes her under the lake. This lake monster should be recognized as the demon figure that Raz confronts during the brain tumbler experiment. Unlike previous Psychonauts videos, this one will be broken up into two separate sections. One will explore Lungfishopolis and the mindscape of the creature. The second will focus on what the hulking lungfish represents within the narrative and Rasputin's journey. Because I brought it up during the brain tumbler experiment, let us begin with the latter. The first time we see a shadowy version of this creature is during the first visit through the brain tumbler. The barrier could not be passed until Raz learned how to fight. After being trained in Psyblast by Sasha, Raz is able to confront and pass this threshold. When the boy meets Linda for
which, when you think about it, they built that actual confrontation up a lot. And then when you're dealing with the shadow lungfish blocking your path, it's just and it's gone. That was it. I thought it was going to be like a boss or something. Though I mean, we did fight Linda later, so I guess that kind of counts. But that kind of feels like cheating.
For real, it presents another barrier for him to cross. Within the hero's journey, the first threshold is a stepping off point. It represents the gate between the known world and the unknown world. Upon passing the demonic figure, sensors finally appear to provide a sense of danger once the known world is left behind. Before the start of the game, the ordinary world was the one Rasputin occupied in the traveling circus. After receiving a pamphlet to the summer camp, he answered the call to adventure and set off into the unknown world of Whispering Rocks. Over the course of basic braining, Sasha's shooting gallery, and Mia's dance party, Raz came full circle with his abilities and became comfortable within the camp.
God, I hated that boss
fight. The world that was previously unknown is now familiar.
So much trouble with it.
The summer camp has become his new ordinary world. Now there is a second threshold to cross, the one between the camp and Thorny Tower's home for the disturbed. Lake Umblingata itself acts as the threshold. In literature, it is common to have a body of water, such as the river Styx, act as a barrier between worlds. Unlike the transition from circus to camp, however, this barrier is guarded by a threshold guardian. Linda the lungfish acts as an obstacle that must be overcome in order to pass through. In Rasputin's case, this is literal. The Aquato family is cursed so that whenever they approach water, the hand of Galocchio appears to drown them. Once cured, Linda acts as the ferryman, taking Raz back and forth across the threshold safely. But before that, we must get to the bottom of what is causing Linda's aggressive actions and causing her to abduct the campers and carry them across the lake. Up to this point, the mindscapes have been from the perspective of a human psyche.
Yeah, not an animal
the
one.
The absurdity of Linda's mind is to be expected. All things considered, the thriving metropolis that Raz finds is relatively normal. The monstrous exception is that Rasputin has grown to the size of skyscrapers. This is due to how Linda perceives the boy. Like most animals under normal circumstances, they would see a human as a giant stomping around and destroying anything it steps on. Even with her abnormalities, Linda still views Rasputin as a giant. Agent Cruller even informs him that she is more afraid of him than he is of her.
Yeah.
Getting back to the reason behind
like
Linda's
with any
transformation, a clue can be found within the mental vaults of the world. One that shows the external cause and one showing the internal effects. The vault Lungfish and Lobato shows the genesis of Linda's transformation. It depicts a mad doctor abducting a normal lungfish and performing experiments on her. This lungfish is altered physically into the hulking lungfish, and a mind control device was placed in her head. In Lungfishopolis Under Siege, we see how Linda's mindscape was before the psychological programming. At first, it was simply a natural ocean scene filled with life. Oleander projected himself down in the form of Cochamera and began to manipulate the population.
Cochamera.
Over time, the natural ocean mindscape was paved over with concrete and skyscrapers into an Orwellian metropolis. Most fell under Cochamera's control, only a few rebelled. After completing and returning to the level, we learn the city is scheduled for reforestation, bringing the mind back into a normal balance.
You may smash it all. This whole area is scheduled for reforestation. Cochamera built this city for us. Lungfish weren't meant to live in cities.
Yeah, but thinking about it, I don't think I ever went back to Lungfishopolis in the game, because I basically smashed all the buildings when I was there the first time. I was very thorough.
Upon entering the mindscape, he finds a civilization of lungfish going about their lives in this 21st century society. The story of this world is straightforward.
The Irish cop.
The mind control device presents itself as a radio antenna that broadcasts propaganda to the citizens. Most of the lungfish comply with the directives given to them, while the few who rebel against it are incarcerated. Rasputin's role is to travel through the city, defeat Cochamera, and destroy the radio tower with the assistance of the freedom fighters.
I mean, they weren't that helpful.
The mind control device created these mental constructs, so once they are removed, the implant fails and Linda's mind is free to be her own again. At the end of the day, Lungfishopolis is a mental world that depicts a population forced to obey the directives of a third party. The characters within it represent different parts of Linda's mind and how she copes with the implant. The lungfish figures are broken into 4 primary categories, all of which relate back to a concept conceived by the philosopher Plato, known as the Allegory of the Cave.
I think I've heard of this, yeah.
Imagine, if you will, a cave where people are imprisoned, chained so that their legs and necks are fixed. This forces them to look at the cave wall, but are unable to see anything else. Behind them is a tall block wall that hides figures walking back and forth that are carrying puppets. Behind that is a fire that casts shadows on the walls the prisoners are forced to watch. As the puppeteers are behind the wall, their bodies cannot be seen, only the shadow images. To the prisoners, the shadows are all they know about their world, as it is the only thing that they can see. According to Plato, this can either be their perception of reality or doctrines imposed upon the citizen by the nation-state. In Lungfishopolis, the majority of the characters Raz meets are the average citizens. Comparing them to the Allegory, they are the prisoners bound and watching the shadow play.
And again, if I remember this Allegory, I think like there was a version of it where you put a child in, where they grow up their entire life only knowing the shadows, and that's their entire life. So like they don't know that there's anything else amiss. So you could very much take that as, the little bits of the mind that are just, oh, totally okay with this is how things are now.
Upon entering the metropolis, a cutscene plays showing a mother crossing the street. A crossing guard asks how her day is going.
And what are you and the wee one up to on this lovely day?
Oh, just obeying the law as always. All posted directives followed to the letter.
They are the part of Linda's mind that is fully under the control of the neural implant. Refusing to go against the directive given by Oleander and Lobato's psychological programming, they blindly follow the propaganda.
The shadow
Like
plays.
the prisoners, their entire world is based upon the shadows on the wall. Shadows cast by the mind control device. Coach
Fire.
Oleander and Dr. Lobato are the puppeteers
That's it.
in
Fire causes mind control. How can I not see it?
this allegory, creating the world that the lungfish see. The shadows themselves make an appearance in multiple ways. Figments largely display billboards meant to influence the citizens. Even those as innocent as advertising sandwiches and tacos show images of the campers mixed in with the food, informing Linda to swallow them before taking them to Lobato.
Really? Jeez, wow. Okay, that's something I don't think I noticed. God, I swear, just going back, it just reminds me just like how masterful some of these little things are and how well they're hidden. Because like I don't think I really ever looked at the figments that much as I was collecting them. But like the fact you have these little collectibles that you'd only probably see if you stopped and actually looked at them and stopped collecting them. And then they're just little things like that.
Others depict the wonders of Kachamara, glorifying the avatar of this deception, along with TV sets and antennas. Throughout the level, radio and news broadcasts will occasionally play,
Oh god,
the contents
yeah.
of which tell the population within Linda's mind what to do and what to think. They even include subliminal messages to kidnap the campers and take them across the lake to Thorny Towers.
Kidnapping human children is good. Kidnapping children do not harm the brains.
In all cases, the broadcaster
Oh
is
God,
Oleander putting on a fake voice. The world
Not a very
Linda
good
finds
one.
herself in is completely manufactured by puppeteers she cannot see. Within the allegory, one of the prisoners breaks free, turns around, and is blinded by the fire. Some would return back to stare at the wall, as it is more comfortable than the pain of the truth. Plato supposes that if the prisoner was forced from the cave and out into the sunlight, the individual would be blinded by the sun. However, after growing accustomed to it, this person would determine this world is better and more real than the false one in the cave. After returning to the cave to rescue the others, the freed prisoner is no longer acclimated to the dim light of the cave and cannot see. Witnessing this, the other prisoners assume that anything outside the cave must be dangerous. Plato concludes that the prisoners would fight against any attempt to take them from the cave, even go so far as to kill the one who is trying to help.
Oh god, I mean, I know the allegory of the cave. I know it can be taken in so many ways, and obviously it's not meant for just like mind control or propaganda. Well, actually, yeah, it kind of is. But, like this whole, like, and I don't want to bring like politics into this, but just with like everything going on in the world, the allegory of the cave, and like how you can have some politicians, you know who they are, and they still have like loyal like support bases, just because they think the ones that see the ones who see the light are crazy or something like that. Oh god. No, I'm sad.
The freedom fighters represent this in Lungfishopolis. Despite the neural implant, a part of Linda's mind is actively trying to resist the psychological programming. However, just like the prisoners fought against the one who escaped the cave, these recusant figures were imprisoned. The internal world created by the implant locked away any part of the mind that resists. Rasputin is contacted by the part of Linda that still wants to put up a fight. The more he breaks out of prison, the closer Linda comes to rejecting the program. Much like in the allegory, anyone who attempts to free the mind is met with resistance. The TV broadcasts portray him as a monster bent on total destruction, which calls upon the lungfish military to take him down.
Which, actually thinking about it, I do like the fact that this level itself was very different from others, where you don't see any of the traditional, like, mental enemies. Like, you don't see, like, sensors or nightmares or, you know, any of that other stuff. But because this entire world itself, like, this entire mental world is entirely fabricated by Coach Oleander. The brain doesn't have any of its natural defenses that can fight against it. It's all just the manufactured, like the planes, the tanks, and just all the stuff, are just all created by Coach Oleander in this fake cityscape.
Even the average citizens cry out about the horrors inflicted upon them by Rasputin as he works to free them of their own mental chains. This relationship can be summed up by Key 15 of the Major Arcana, the Devil.
Key 15,
Two figures
what?
are chained to a half cube. A full cube represents truth, while the half cube is by extension half-truth. Much like Kochamara, the Devil is the avatar of our own self-deception and holds us prisoner. However, if one looks closely, the chains around the prisoners' necks are so loose that they can easily pull off their bonds and escape if they recognize this and had the will to walk away. So the question is, if the imprisoned mind does not want to free itself, what do you do? The Lungfish resistance wishes to convince the population through political pamphlets to pull off their chains.
God, I forgot about that part. Right. Oh, God. At the time, I remember thinking that it was just like a joke about, like, apathetic or, you know, pathetic politicians and stuff like that.
Rasputin takes a more direct path. If the prisoners in the cave will fight to the death to stay with shadows cast on the wall, then convincing them to leave won't work. The cave itself, or the half-cube, will need to be destroyed. Raz travels to the island with the radio transmitter and defeats Kochamara, essentially evicting Oleander from the mind before destroying the tower. This causes the implant to fail and returns control back to Linda. In the allegorical sense, she has now left the cave into the sunlight. Linda gifts Rasputin with the Lungfish call, a horn that will summon her. This way, he can be ferried back and forth between the known and the unknown world. Now, at the gates of Thorny Towers, Raz is on the path to rescue Sasha, Mia, and the rest of the campers.
Oh, God.
Thank you all for watching.
Oh, God. Now we're... At this point, I believe... the psychology of Psychonauts has gotten over all of the, like, the basic levels. After this, they start getting to the good ones. Though that being said, I do see that the next video in the playlist is actually the history of Whispering Rocks. So I don't know whether I'm going to watch that as well when I do the Milkman conspiracy, or just do my, or just have it be its own, like, short reaction that I post at the same day or something like that. I'll have to see. But anyway, after this, we get to all the really fun worlds, like the Milkman Conspiracy, Glorious Theater, Waterloo World, oh god, Black Velveeta, yeah, those were some of the best levels in Psychonauts 1. It's gonna be so fun! And then after all of that, there's gonna be Meat Circus, which, if you remember from my playthrough, I accidentally glitched and skipped over a good chunk of it. Oh god. Good times, good times. But yeah, that's gonna be it for now. So yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Go on our video, link to my Let's Play of the day. And yeah, with all that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.